working meeting for the Winter Shared Streets and Spaces grant, and you all were selected along with others to come to this based on the feedback we got after last Thursday's meeting. So what Beth and I did was compile the ideas that came out, and I put that in a one-pager, 2-column. The section to the right is for any notes that you want to write if you were able to print it out. But what I was going to do was use the chat just for right now to put up the goals for today. So what I wanted to do is, these are the questions that we had. What is possible in the time frame that we have? So what is possible? That's the first question. The next question is what project? If we decide that it is possible, what project? And then kind of a list of what needs to be done to get there. So those are the 3 questions that I wanted to work towards having answers for today. What I will be doing, and I've requested that a grant discussion be put on the Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, because once I am a selectman and I'm here, talking about these, but I want the selectmen need to look at what there is, because for some of these, there will be budgeting, and we'll need to talk about what is staff going to be doing, what's volunteers going to be doing. So any questions on that, or any other questions that I should put in my list of things to answer today?
We were supposed to groom?
Oh no. No.
Is that a requirement, Jim?
Never required.
No, I came in my bathrobe. I'm in my bathrobe today at work. No grooming necessary.
Right. So this is much less formal than what we did Thursday, because we're a smaller group. So feel free, if you have something to say, just jump in. But I'll get started. There were with the what is possible, and that goes to the grant deadlines. There's a grant deadline for January 29th, which is really just 2 weeks and a couple days away. And then there's another grant deadline for February 26th. So what is possible, which one of those grant deadlines? And knowing that the work completion date for all of this is May 31st. So if we choose the 2 weeks away, the award would be February 26th, then the town would have 3 months to get things done. And if we choose February 26th, the town has 2 months to get things done. Oof. So those are the limitations that we have. So for me, looking at the projects that we have there, these are the things that we thought as possibilities. And I think we have to think about our time frame too. So I don't know, Beth might not be in until 3:45, but anyway, I guess I'll keep talking through my little list here.
Ronnie, excuse me, how much money are we talking?
It varies. It can be anywhere from $5,000 to up to, I don't know, Adria, you might know better than me, like $100,000. Depends on the project that you have. The other thing on funding is there were 4 rounds of this grant. The first one was like December 4th. The second one was late December, maybe the 30th. And then the third round is January 29th, and the last round is February 26th. So the money gets given out until it's gone, is the way it works. So the later you are in the grant process, the less money that perhaps, you don't know because you don't know who put out what, but the less money that there could be.
Thank you.
Or
And
maybe they'll be anxious to get rid of what they have left.
well, that is true. That could be.
Ronnie, I thought I read something about 500,000.
That could be. I know it's pretty big. There's like 10 million or something. Is that right, Adria? I see you looking at your screen. I'm guessing you're looking this up.
I was. I'm on the website now, and it's citing 5,000 to 300,000 for quick build improvements.
Right.
So can we, Jim, at some BOS meeting a while ago, you presented, I think, the original grant that we got turned down on, the stuff going on behind Town Hall, that wonderful kind of farmer's market envisioned space and parking and all that. Can we keep working off of that, or do we have to reinvent this whole wheel?
We got to reinvent. They loved what we proposed, but they said that it was really more of a placemaking proposal than a transportation related spaces grant, which is they're really focusing on bike trails, sidewalks, more transportation related.
Okay, thank you. So when they say shared streets and spaces, this is like somebody being mobile on something, going by.
Just connectivity and creating outdoor opportunities, particularly during COVID.
Thank you.
And the goal is to get people outside and doing things. And it's winter shared streets and spaces. So it's for, things that you might do in the wintertime. So when we thought we were going to apply on December 4th, we were thinking about a skating rink on the Common. But, that could also be placemaking, I suppose, but it's something that could be put in and taken out. So we dropped that idea and we came up with, so what do we want this for? We want people to get outside, and nobody knows where the parks are in town. And we have a lot of parks, a lot of open space that's accessible walking from the center of town, but people don't know how to get to it. So things like the Adams Dam area along the river, back behind the feed store, that area. Howard Park, you can get to that easily from the Common, walking either up Howard Street or go up 13 to the middle school and down the road there, or Old Meeting House Park. And I don't even think people are aware of how easy it is to get to these places. So one thought was signage to these. You could also, the Fish and Wildlife property back by the river, if you go down past Duncan's on 13, at the bridge there and make the left and go in, there's a parking area and you can walk in there. And that actually connects to the land trust trails up on Pheasant Ridge. But Fish and Wildlife doesn't mark their trails. They don't want you to maintain trails or anything like that. You can use trails that are on Fish and Wildlife land, but you can't mark the trails. But if we could put a sign at the back of Pheasant Ridge, Land Trust Trails this way. We have Blue Blaze Trails back on the Pheasant Ridge, and maps, GPS maps for that area. Nobody knows that, but we do have that. So same for up at the top of Meeting House Hill. So the thought was to put signage of some sort at the Common and along the roads, pointing out this way, this is Meeting House Park, arrow, go this way. If we could, and Joan, you could maybe answer this. What is involved with bike trails? Can we just draw a line on the road and say, this is the bike lane? Or is it more involved than that on a quick build? So,
I don't actually know, but I envisioned it as painted lanes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Amy.
Oh.
Go ahead.
So, we talked about bike lanes during Complete Street. So it really is basically painting lines. Some of it has to do with how much, there's a specific amount of distance you have to have for a vehicle within lane and curb. So some of it has to do with that. And I know when we looked at Dudley, some of the spaces were too tight to have a bike lane in, and still allow for the amount of distance. So we'd have to check those specifics again. I don't remember what they are, but for the most part, especially on like the main roads or the clearly 2-lane roads, it's just a line. It's a designated bike lane, and it has the line up, and then it has, every once in a while, it has the picture, the spray painted picture of the bicyclist. And that's primarily what I remember from Complete Streets. And it was really about the condition of the curbs and that distance between car and center line or lane space, for a bicycle to be able to occupy its own car space, I guess you could say, along the road.
There is a standard. Adria, do you know what the Mass DOT standard is on that for the dimensions?
I don't, but I can take a quick look.
I'm chasing it myself, so.
I think we also have to indicate where there's parking, because, for instance, I know when Bill and I go on the bike trail, we drive over to Pepperell and we park. So I think we want really good signs that say park here for bike trail entry.
So that could be parking at Jeff Street, parking at the Common, a sign pointing you to Depot Street, so that you can get to the bike trail. So we really, I'm moving back to my first, what is possible, what time frame. I'm thinking we might want to go to February 26th for this and take our chances on that. So we have time to look at all these things, if signage is what we want.
And, could the signage too include, like, how they have like at Monson, right? They have a little sign that shows a map that shows you where the trails are, or, any place. So someone could park their car, get out of the car, and it shows, okay, I have to cross the street, and then look, it goes that way. So there'll be a permanent kind of sign engraved on a plaque, or you know what I mean? Something like that. We could think along those lines too.
That sounds reasonable, but I will tell you from what Jim was saying before, with our other grant, they wanted things that weren't permanent. They were looking for things that would not, here comes Beth, by the way, that were like temporary and could be taken down. But then in this grant process, they've allowed people that did the temporary things to get more money to make them permanent. Oh, so when I read that, I thought, oh, you've got to be kidding me. So anyway, yeah, so as long as they would allow that, I think that's a great idea to have that signage. We could even do, like for the Meeting House Park trails and the Land Trust trails, you can we could put QR codes, make a more permanent sign that someone could just click on the QR code and there's your trail map. So, I was just thinking that signage for the how do you get to the trails? Where are the trails? Where is parking for the trails? If we can put bike lanes and it's just a matter of painting, that's one thing. If we need to extend the road, I don't know that would be, widen the road to get it in. I don't know that would be covered under this grant, especially if we don't have an engineering study already done. So I don't know. It's what's reasonable. Other thoughts?
Ronnie, the other thing is, and I don't know if this is germane or if it would, connect with this, but I was in some town, driving through a town recently, and they had signs posted, watershed protection area. So imagine if somebody were on their bike, on the bike trail, paddling along, and they saw a sign, watershed protection area. I think it's so great because then it raises consciousness about environmental stuff.
That's another possibility. So I was thinking, I know I wasn't thinking on that lines. I was thinking more get the people to the parks. That's where I was thinking, but that's, something we could put down, I guess, especially along the rail trail. The state would probably be happy about that. What do you think, Joan?
It's just,
I don't know.
It just sound like a good opportunity for a wild and scenic thing.
That is, you're right. That could be.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, Joan.
Part of the discussion at the meeting last week was that the Wild and Scenic Stewardship Council has new grant, an RFP out. And that's going to be a yearly thing as far as we know. I'm on the Stewardship Council.
Good, thank you.
But something like that seems a better fit there. It's not a mobility thing. It's not a connectivity thing. It's an environmental, natural resources thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will put in a plug that the Wild and Scenic meeting is tonight at 6:30. So we can move that to there. But anyway, so I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think the ideas discussed so far sound like they would be a really good fit under the Reimagined Streets category for this grant. I had said earlier that grants were capped at $300,000. It looks like they actually vary by project type, and there are several. But the Reimagined Streets category talks about things like bike lanes, talks about things like wayfinding, which I think signage would be included under that, and also talks about crosswalks or traffic calming measures. So I wanted to ask about that because I know in the previous meeting there had been a mention of a possible pedestrian light to make it easier to cross the road, I think near Apple Meadow. Is that right?
Correct.
My thought on that is direct people to parking at Jeff's Street, make Jeff's Street one way from the town hall down to Apple Meadow so that it's in that direction. Put the pedestrian light at Apple Meadow so you could walk across and get eventually to the rail trail for walking there. Or it could be a bike lane too, because there would probably be enough space along Jeff Street for a bike lane if it were one way, single lane traffic. I don't know.
Instead of a light, in Groton, when people cross the street, they bang those things and it blinks. There's a blinker thing.
It's exactly what we were thinking. Yeah. And I think we put it in the other grant application, the August-September grant application. Yeah. Didn't we have that in there?
Yep.
Yeah. So that would work if we could. So signage for wayfinding, bike lanes where they fit, and I was thinking, signage to Howard Park up both Howard Street and Route 13. I don't know about bike lanes along Route 13, but Emmy.
I had a quick question. If we're going, so I know when we spoke and talked about signage and directing to various parks, et cetera, and their access, I know that, so the state owns and makes the decisions for 119, correct? We have access for 13. So no, is it the other way around?
State as well. No, okay. I believe that the numbered routes in Townsend, meaning 119 and 13, are both state routes.
Okay. Now, around the Common, although that runs along 13, it's named differently. Would we be able to redo, as part of this Reimagined Streets, those crosswalks as pedestrian with the blinking so that people parking, as they generally do, as public parking in the Common, can also get themselves to 13, the sidewalk there, or back behind Evans for access back there? Because that would be another really great spot to highlight pedestrians going somewhere, especially if we're putting signage on the Common to move them that direction.
That is true. Or are you thinking the crosswalk right from the Common across to the Catholic Church there?
Yeah, it could either be that one or something we talked at Complete Streets and I still envision is actually, and again, this goes along with your turning this one into Jeff's into a one-way halfway through, the street that goes along the Common on the other church side, having that actually slightly reimagined for pedestrian. It's so huge and it's so wide and it's not actually used as often as it should be, like with trucks turning and stuff. So it might be a really good place to run a bike lane all the way from the other side, up that side instead with a pedestrian crosswalk.
Emmy, is that in the complete streets? Is that like spelled out in there?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to go back and take a look, and I'll contact my contact there and ask, because I know they were talking about reimagining that really weird triangle right at that end, because that street area is really like 3 lanes and parking is only on part of it. And then you've got a weird crosswalk and then no crosswalk where there should be one. So it's kind of, I know that was a big part of the discussion. I'm not sure if they ended up completely reimagining the intersection or if they just updated it for bike lanes and pedestrian walkway. But I can contact and ask about that area. I can do that.
And that part, that road, that side of the common, that is probably not state maintained, I'm guessing. I'm guessing it's town maintained.
So that's what I was wondering. Can we get around the whole 1319 thing, 119 thing by trying to work off of our town streets instead? Can we, or partner them with, so it doesn't look like we're just trying to take over state decisions on the roads? I don't know exactly how it works, so I'm just throwing it there.
A good question for Brad Harris, I think, at MRPC, because I don't know how it works. I mean, I'm learning things doing this. So, Beth, are you on?
Yes, I am here. Good afternoon, everybody.
Do you know the answer to that question?
Honestly, I heard about half of it, to be honest. So no, okay. If you want to throw it out there again, I can tell you. I just wanted to add, in case I have to hop off, because I am in the middle of a decision. I just attended the MJTC meeting, and they did talk about the UPWP project solicitation. That kind of will tie into your conversation, but real simply put, what the best way to do that is to identify problem areas, problem intersections, problems, where that you see in town, and then bring those problems to MRPC, and they can potentially help plan the project. So as you're talking today, if you want to just like sketch out a few areas in town that are definitely problematic for pedestrian or bike traffic, and we can take it back to the MJTC as a project. We already have the walkability study through this program, but sorry to get off topic, but just want to add that.
That walkability study is just beginning to get underway now.
Exactly. Yeah. So we may not, it's probably not the best time for another ask under that program. However, if I don't think it could hurt to ask if we have another project in mind. Well,
the bikeability, walkability, I'm thinking that might identify the things that Emmy was just talking about. Maybe,
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Using that road in front of the Congregational Church there as a pedestrian biking road, as opposed to a traffic-y road, a car road. So
yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, I like that a lot.
So I guess going back to the questions, what is possible? What in the time frame that we have, without having studies, ready to pull off the shelf that we've already had done recently, what do we want to go forward with this? The nice thing about this grant is if you are awarded it, it's not a reimbursement grant. You get the funds that you ask for, but you have to do it and account for it immediately. So what can we realistically do? What seems?
It seems like signage and painted lanes should be pretty easy. Not a big.
Can you paint roads in the winter?
It'll
Can
be.
You do road painting?
We'll be doing it in April, May.
Okay, so you should be able to have some warm weather for that.
So then we have to maybe have feet on the ground and do a walkabout and say, all right, because you can't really understand a space till you're in it, and just do a feeling kind of walk and say, all right, sign would be here, sign would be good here. Somebody, gets their bike onto the trail, where's the next sign?
Yeah, photograph the areas and document the areas by photograph.
So I run those, all the areas that we're talking about, I run probably every other day. So I don't mind doing some of that in the next couple of days if you want, because I run them anyway. Huh?
Show off.
Stop it. It just to make life a little bit easier. I don't have one of those fancy cameras or anything. I'm literally talking about, turning off my cool music and taking pictures when I can. But like I said, I can probably do that at least in the common area if we're talking about signage to roads. Because if we're, and to you, Veronica, about what's possible, if we tie the signage to the sidewalk repair that we already have, to the pedestrian walkways that we're looking for, in order to put this into like a transportation frame of mind, putting those two together, I think we would hit both of the ones that Adria was talking about reimagined streets, as well as about wayfinding. Like that kind of attaches the two together. Is that possible, or do we really need to say, okay, only we're doing signage and directionality, or only we're looking at actually reimagining our streets themselves? Do we know?
I think that, I think that both the signage, wayfinding, and the bike lanes are both listed as being under the Reimagined Streets category. So I think those all would fit well. And it also lists some things related to traffic calming crosswalks. If we were thinking about that, pedestrian light, but that does sound like something that might take a little longer to complete. And I think it will be really key to show Mass DOT that what is being proposed is truly a quick build, can definitely get done within the timeline. So I agree with Joan's earlier comment about painting the bike lanes and the signage as being things that seem really ideal for this application.
Okay. So what do we think? Do we have our project? Does that sound reasonable?
I will say that I don't go into the woods very much. So Joan, if you want to traipse through and take pictures, with the wildlife and stuff, you feel free to go to those, wild and scenic areas. I don't do that by myself.
I have some pictures from the land trust property up at the top of Meeting House Hill, the one that's adjacent to Old Meeting House Park. I have pictures from that I could include from when we've done monitoring. So,
hey, Ronnie,
actually,
can't you walk from the top of Meeting? I'm sorry.
Excuse me. Beth, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Jim, I know the last submittal was online and it was quite lengthy. Would you rather have less pictures and more schematics, or does it matter?
I think as much as can be put together, the better. I think the problem we ran into is there was conflicting information on the website as to how to submit. So we submitted our PDF and felt fat, dumb, and happy, and then they gave us about 20 minutes to turn around the online app. So now that we know it's online, it doesn't matter. We'll just get it done that way.
Okay.
And speaking of schematics, Beth, great point about that. I'm happy to help with schematics. If that would be helpful, we can, drop dots on map view if we wanted to show locations for signage, draw in those bike lanes where we imagine them. And there might even be opportunities to do a call out if we want to overlay, a photo of a location on top of that map view schematic.
Excellent. Okay.
Can't you walk from the top of Meeting House Hill all the way over to Gary's farm stand?
You can.
So
yes,
we should put that?
You can go down either the land trust side or the town side, and it'll put you right out onto Greeley Road, the far end of Greeley Road. You can walk down Greeley Road to the farm stand, and I imagine, Joan, this is for you, that eventually it would be nice to have a crosswalk, a sidewalk and a crosswalk, or a bike lane that could take you down Old Meeting House Road onto the bike trail, so that people from up here on the hill could actually get on their bike or walk all the way down to the bike trail in that section and go either take a long walk
East
down
or
to
west, yeah.
Hannaford or into the center of town that way.
I would love it. I actually did try to do that route the other day, but I wasn't sure I could go up Greeley Road and find my way, so I didn't. I was trying to make it into a loop.
It's easier to go the other way, Joan,
Correct, yeah.
to start on Meeting House Road and go down. Then once you do that, you'll see where to coming back, because it's well marked, you know? So like everything in town, it's well marked.
Of the Squanicook River Rail Trail. So I'll just point out to those folks, the board of directors, that we're talking about these kind of things. And,
that would be a really nice
suggestions or additions.
Yeah. So, all right. So what I'll do, did we hit what is possible, what project, and what needs to be done to get there? So I guess we're on the what is possible. We're going to target the February 26th. I'll bring this forward to the Board of Selectmen. The project would be under the Reimagined Streets category, bike lanes, wayfinding. I have a check mark on those two. I have a little dot on crosswalks. That might be more than what we can reasonably, the flashing lights thing with this round. Maybe they'll come out with a summertime shared streets and spaces. This is CARES Act money, I believe. The funding that the state is using for this is CARES Act. Is that true?
That's my understanding, because it is COVID getting people outdoors.
Yeah, so it's hard to say what's going to happen going forward. So what I'll do is I'll write up a little blurb, whatever I'm going to present to the Board of Selectmen using what we did. And Hartley, I guess it would be good to put it up on the recording on YouTube so that we can all review it for what we said and make sure that, what I'll do is I'll put a blurb. This is the concept, like a short paragraph on the concept, and send it out to all of you. Feel free to edit. I usually send out PDFs, so send comments back. I just do that because people don't all have Doc, Microsoft Word, which is what I use. So anyway, I'll send out a PDF, comment, get it back to me. I'll present it on Tuesday at the Board of Selectmen's meeting. So I'll have a little bit of work to do coming up. I'll get it to you, hopefully by the end of the weekend, and get it back to me, and we'll go from there. If it gets a green light from the Board of Selectmen, then we'll be meeting more, more frequently going forward to get it together for February 26th.
I bet there's a 50-50 chance it gets approved by the selectmen.
Yeah, you think
that's
that?
Just me. That's just me.
It's a good guess. But anyway, it only takes one of us right now to shoot it down. The noes have it, So anyway, we'll see where it goes and see if we could get it funded to get things out there. So Emmy, if you get a chance to run and, have ideas, I would say wait until after Tuesday because it'll be our going for it. We need to have the okay before we, really do
out there too much. Does any thought about contacting Groton to find out what their process was for their pedestrian walkways, who they used, how quick the turnaround was on getting them, the orders, et cetera? Because they have what we're looking for already on their main street. That's the ones that you push the button and the light shines and it's really obvious you're not going to run somebody over. Like it's really there. Any thought to contacting Groton and just asking them, hey, when, how long did it take, cost estimates, whatever?
That is a good idea. I'm writing things down. Hang on. So I guess I don't have to write things down. It's being recorded. But yeah, we haven't done that, but I think we could. That's a good idea. So yeah. that might be a thing to do sooner rather than later, because if we could get some of them in now, and to find out whether our crosswalks are subject to the state or whether we can do something like this on our own. I don't know the answer. Do you know the answer to that, Jim?
No, but I can reach out to Mark Haddad tonight. I'll send him a message tonight, the town manager in Groton, ask him for basically their roadmap, and we can pick from that.
Yeah, that would be good for how they got the crosswalks, the cost estimates. But I know that 119 in Groton is a town road. It's not a state road. In
Right.
Townsend, it's a state road. So might be a little different rules, but we could get their cost estimates and their timing and who they used and that kind of stuff, which would be great. So I have one other question, and this is something that Brad Harris brought up in that meeting. He had recommended that we use the Bar Foundation. Is that really necessary, do you think? Do only Bar Foundation grants, helped grants get funded by Shared Streets and Spaces?
It sounded to me like they had just been selected to provide some technical assistance if you wanted to talk through potential project ideas and cost estimates. So it sounds like they could be a resource, but I think if you don't work with them, I don't think that makes you ineligible to apply.
Okay, all right. That's what I didn't know. Okay. Well, we can decide that after we get the project approved. So, all right. So I will write it up. I will send it to the people who are on this call, because I assume you are our core group for this. And we'll go from there after we get blessed by the selectmen on Tuesday, hopefully.
Excellent.
Sounds great.
Anything else to add?
Negative.
Anybody else? All right, well, I think we have our next steps. Let me see if there's anything else here in the chat. I guess my question is, Hartley, do you preserve the chat? Does the chat get preserved in the recording? Is there a way to do that? Because I see, Joan, you've put some good stuff in here.
Well,
Is that a yes?
It's from the Complete Streets. I don't think you need to keep it.
Oh, it's from Complete Streets?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we should hold on to this anyway. Hartley, if you can, yeah, if we have the chat saved, that would be great. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
All right, look for email. All right, bye-bye.
See ya.